Hi there. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about the concept of chemosphere and trying to explain the cause of autism, which we do in great detail in my new book called Autism, the Cause and the Cure. And let me explain. The chemosphere is traditionally explained is the layer of atmosphere 20 miles up where UV radiation makes a lot of chemical reactions. That's not what we're talking about. Robert Naveau, faculty at UC California, San Diego, defines a chemosphere as the invisible environment of toxins in our world, the sum of all the various chemicals, none of which is particularly dangerous, but each of which contributes a tiny amount of alteration of your natural basis. Now, Naveau goes on to talk about the cell danger response, which is when mitochondria get damaged and start spilling out free ATP into the organism. And that's a topic for another day. But the chemosphere today, I want to just define for you some ideas so you understand it. Let me give you some examples. For example, you've surely heard of MSG. And there's been a big fight back and forth about whether MSG is dangerous or not, monosodium glutamate. And there's a whole book called Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills by Russell Blaylock, in which there's a great detail of MSG dangers put in. And the MSG industry's come back showing all sorts of randomized placebo-controlled trials that showed no danger. Wait a minute. There's too much smoke here. That's probably a great example of part of the chemosphere of danger. And the net effect is you can't show it in individual studies, but in cumulative, all of it being added together causes damage. Another example that you may or may not have heard of is, ever heard of PDDQ? It's a chemical that holds rubber together in tires, and as tires age, they slough off that little bit. The tire loses about half pound a year or so. A car loses about 5 pounds of tire every year of driving. And PDDQ accumulates on highways such that when thunderstorms happen in Seattle during the salmon run, thousands of dead salmon are found on the beach. PDDQ is deadly dangerous for salmon when it gets concentrated. How about you when you're just sitting in a car driving along, breathing in just a little bit of dust? You don't detect it, you don't feel it. There it is. Another example might be linoleic acid from seed oils. Linoleic acid is a vitamin. You must have it. It is necessary to make new mitochondria, which is why it's in seeds. Plants have to have mitochondria too. And you make a unique membrane lipid called cardiolipin that helps make your mitochondria proton-proof. The problem is that it gets heated when we make French fries or fried food. And when it's heated, it becomes oxidized and changes its shape. And that makes the cardiolipin in mitochondria defective. And we know that autism is a disease of proton leakage in damaged mitochondria. Broken cardiolipin would provide exactly the mechanism that does that. And if you want to read more detail about that, read the book. There's lots of detail in there that goes through and shows that. The fact is we can't finger any one item, but the core concept to take home with you is that autism is a disease of excess oxidative stress, which we're going to explain in our next video, caused by a chemosphere of toxins. And they all aggregate together to make a sum that is damaging all of our children, much less us. Our kids are just more vulnerable. And so they come down with this disease called autism or ASD spectrum disorder or ADHD in a milder form. But it's happening at an increasing rate. It must be environmental. It's not genetic. So the cause of autism is a dangerous chemosphere that's happening to all of our kids. And it should be noted, the tiny amount that estrogen that little girls have is very protective. If you look at the bell curve of girls and the amount of estrogen they have, if you find the girls at the end that are closest to boys or the least amount of estrogen, they have the same rate of autism as boys do. So it's the estrogen that's protecting them, which is why girls have more. But girls are also being poisoned, and with enough poison, we can get them to develop autism as well. This is Dr. John Whitcomb for News and Nutrition. Read my book, learn more about it, and please stop eating MSG, stop eating seed oils, clean off your vegetables when you buy them, eat whole foods, and all of that will help contribute to your child being safer.